Good morning, little masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. It's time to get the 9th series of the TTT underway as we start week 67 with another Middle-earth Map Monday. Now, before we start, I want to bid farewell and say thank you to David Weatherly. He was the actor who played Barnum Butterbur in The Fellowship of the Ring. It was his wonderful and warm delivery of that Welcome to the Hobbits that I chose as my signature line when Sean and I started the Prancing Pony podcast nearly 9 years ago. Weatherly passed away on December 12th, and we will all certainly miss Barnum Butterbur. Now, I suppose I should address one other thing before we start, the new setting here at today's Tolkien Times. Now, for those of you listening to the audio-only podcast, you won't notice a thing, or at least I hope you won't. But for those of you on YouTube, you'll see that I'm in an entirely different space from the previous 20 months and nearly 400 episodes. I hope you like it. See, for the last few months, I've known that I would need to move my office somehow, somewhere. My kids are getting too old to share a bedroom, and well, moving to a 4-bedroom house in our neighborhood is only for those with access to Gondor's royal treasury. So I found a space to rent, and here I am, still making it my own. And over the next few weeks, you might even see some more additions to the shelves behind. At least you can see a lot more of them than before. You might not have noticed, but I could actually barely roll my chair back without running into the shelves before. Now, on to the content of the first episode in Series 9, Middle-earth Map Monday. Now, last series, other than the first couple of weeks, we journeyed alongside the Fellowship, visiting Amansul, the Trollshaws, Rivendell, Eregion, and the Misty Mountains. And we're going to continue that trend this series as we speak, friend, and enter the most famous mansion of the dwarves, Khazad-dûm. It's a big place with a lot of history, so I expect we'll be taking 2 or maybe even 3 weeks to cover this incredible location. Now, let's start with its founding. A very, very long time ago. How long? Well, Tolkien never gives us an exact date, but let's see if we can't narrow it down. First, in the history of Middle-earth, and this is in both the Annals of Aman, found in Morgoth's Ring, and in the Grey Annals, found in the War of the Jewels, we learned that the elves awoke by Lake Cuiviénen in the year of the trees 1050. Now, how's that relevant to the founding of Khazad-dûm? Well, back when Aule first made the dwarves and Ilúvatar granted them a life of their own, Ilúvatar made it clear, I will not suffer this, that these should come before the firstborn of my design, nor that thy impatience should be rewarded. They shall sleep now in the darkness under stone, and shall not come forth until the firstborn have awakened upon earth. And until that time thou and they shall wait, though long it seem. So, sometime after the year of the trees 1050. But when is the latest that it could have been? Well, if we go to the chapter of the Sindar in the Silmarillion, we are told about the Eldar encountering the, again with the super nice names, Naugrim, the stunted people. We are told then that greatest of all the mansions of the dwarves was Khazad-dûm, the Dwarodelf, Hadadrond in the Elvish tongue, that was afterwards in the days of its darkness called Moria. But it was far off in the mountains of mist beyond the wide leagues of Eriador, and to the Eldar came but as a name and a rumor from the words of the dwarves of the Blue Mountains. And then later in that chapter, we're told about Melian advising Thingol to make for himself a kingly dwelling, and that's when they build Menegroth. Now, in the Grey Annals, we learned that Menegroth was built in the year of the trees 1300. But it was in 1250 that the Sindar first encountered the dwarves, so arguably sometime between 1050, certainly no earlier, and no later than 1250 in the years of the trees. That's when Khazad-dûm would have been founded. The problem, of course, is that 200-year gap. It's actually more like 1900 years of the sun, but it does give you something to go on. Basically, Khazad-dûm was founded before Menegroth, and since the Noldor didn't return to Middle-earth until the year of the trees 1495, Khazad-dûm is older than Gondolin, Nargothrond, and all of those other realms that are under the sea. So it's old. I mean, it's really, really, really old. More than 8,400 years old as an uninterrupted kingdom before they were driven out by Durin's Bane in Third Age 1980, which is more than 1,000 years before the War of the Ring. So we're talking about almost 10,000 years. Now, as for the nature of its founding, let's go to Appendix A3 in The Lord of the Rings for that story. Durin is the name that the dwarves used for the eldest of the 7 fathers of their race, and the ancestor of all the kings of the Longbeards. he slept alone, until in the deeps of time, in the awakening of that people, he came to Azanulbizar, and in the caves above Kheled Zaram in the east of the misty mountains, he made his dwelling, where afterwards were the mines of Moria, renowned in song. And in the last 2 weeks of Series 8 on Third Age Thursdays, I read through the Song of Durin that Gimli sings in A Journey in the Dark. And we're going to revisit the first couple of stanzas today because they speak of the founding of Khazad-dûm. The world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen. No words were laid on stream or stone when Durin woke and walked alone. He named the nameless hills and dells. He drank from yet untasted wells. He stooped and looked in mirror and saw a crown of stars appear as gems upon a silver thread above the shadow of his head. Again, a very long time ago. No stain upon the moon was seen. That's because the moon didn't even exist yet. That's how long ago this was. Now, after the company escape Moria following the apparent death of Gandalf, Gimli says he can't go by without turning aside for a moment to look at the wonder of Dimril Dale, where the Mirror lies. He takes Frodo with him, and we read, "Beside the standing stone, Gimli halted and looked up. It was cracked and weather-worn, and the faint runes upon its side could not be read. This pillar marks the spot where Durin first looked in the Mirror, said the dwarf. Let us look ourselves once ere we go." They stooped over the dark water. At first, they could see nothing. Then slowly they saw the forms of the encircling mountains mirrored in a profound blue, and the peaks were like plumes of white flame above them. Beyond there was a space of sky. There, like jewels sunk in the deep, shone glinting stars, though sunlight was in the sky above. Of their own stooping forms no shadow could be seen. "O Kheled Zaram, fair and wonderful," said Gimli. "There lies the crown of Durin till he wakes." Now, while many of us envision the doors of Durin when we think about the entrance to Moria, those doors weren't built until the Second Age, thousands of years into Khazad-dûm's existence. When founded by Durin, only the doors to the east, the Great Gates, were present. And according to a footnote in Of Dwarves and Men, found in the Peoples of Middle-earth, these doors had a giant "Keep out, no trespassing, solicitors killed with an axe on sight" sign. Because there we read that the east gates, which perished in the war against the orcs, had opened upon the wide world and were less friendly. They had borne runic inscriptions in several tongues, spells of prohibition and exclusion in Khuzdul, and commands that all should depart who had not the leave of the Lord of Moria, written in Quenya, Sindarin, the common speech, the languages of Rohan and of Dale and Dunland. I mean, all the languages. Now, next week, we're going to look at the wordry of this place, so many names, as well as some of the history in the First and Second Ages. And folks, that wraps it up for Middle-earth Map Monday. But if you have a mailbag question you'd like me to answer in Series 10 or ideas for more Middle-earth Map Mondays, please email them to barliman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Be sure to let Barliman know that it's for today's Tolkien Times. Now, as always, I am grateful for the support of my patrons who make it possible for me to invest the time and resources into producing these episodes. If you'd like to be a part of that, please visit patreon.com/Tolkien Times to find out how you can join the TTT Content Council, get a bonus episode every week, and more. And join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Tolkien Tuesday as we learn more about the professor himself. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Follow or subscribe in your podcast apps and follow @Tolkien Times on social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.